Cha-cha.
Plenty of time to come and be served at the refreshment center before showtime.
This is interesting. No, that's terrible. Allison Sheridan is here with us, everybody. That was a conversation in my head, by the way. Her mic didn't cut out. Recording her didn't cut out. It was just in my head. That was the thing that was happening. We'll move on. Right. So let's talk about something kind of depressing. You know what? No. Let's talk about two things kind of depressing. May, I think, of last year was the first time that I had you on this show. And I had almost stopped asking people the question that I had been asking for a little over a month. How do we want to come out of this? This being the lockdown, this being the COVID-19, we're all going to go inside. And what I said was, all right, we're all inside. What do we want to come out to? How do we want to come out? We're at this place of needing a reset. It seems obvious that we're at this place that we're needing a reset. So once we do this reset, how do we want to come out? What do we want that to look like? And it turns out we decided to not do a reset. We decided to go in for, okay, I understand they said 3 months, let's say a month and a half, and then go back out and try to act normal, which ends, doesn't so far. The reason I bring that up is because I heard Tim Cook on last week's earnings call say a lot of stuff. I had asked you about the rhetoric sort of out there from Apple. Talking about the kinds of things that we need to do going forward. And I was asking if you were inspired, and you said, you know, what would be inspiring would be fewer white guys in Apple's executive team.
So I didn't answer your question again.
Well,
right?
no, it's okay, because I don't know that my question was clear enough. But you raise an interesting point. I guess what I was wondering, I mean, first of all, did you listen to last week's earnings call?
I did not listen directly.
Oh,
I like to get it from you.
Oh, okay.
So I listened to you talk about it.
Well, so then you've heard the part that inspired me about what Tim Cook said, because I actually talked about it. I know I talked about it on macOS Ken Live, and I think I quoted it on macOS Ken as well. Let me see if I can find it, because I had it here. And
I've got it in front of me.
You got it in front of you. Okay. What did I like so much?
That part I don't know.
Oh, okay. We're focused on how we can help in a moment of great national need, said Tim Cook, because none of us should have any illusions about the challenges we face as we begin a new chapter in the American story. Hope for healing, for unity, and for progress begins with and depends on addressing the things that continue to wound us. In our communities, we see how every burden, from COVID-19 to the resulting economic challenges to the closure of in-person learning for students, falls heaviest on those who have always faced structural barriers to opportunity and equality. He went on to say, we know that there is much more to be done. Looking forward, we continue to contend with the COVID-19 pandemic, but we must also now work to imagine what we will inherit on the other side. When a disease recedes, we cannot simply assume that healing follows. Even now, we see the deep scars that this period has left on our communities. Trust has been compromised, opportunities have been lost, entire portions of our lives that we took for granted, schools for our children, meetings with our colleagues, small businesses that have endured for generations have simply disappeared. It will take a society-wide effort across the public and private sectors as individuals and communities, every one of us, to ensure that what's ahead of us is not simply the end of a disease, but the beginning of something durable and hopeful for those who gave, suffered, and endured during this time. We're a year in, and somebody is saying that now. And that kind of, on the one hand, I'm inspired. On the other hand, I'm like, where were you 9 months ago? Where were the people 9 months ago who should have been making those kind of statements? And so I was wondering if any of that, rang your bell, did anything for you, or was it just like, noise?
Well, I mean, it sounds inspirational, but I don't see anything in that's concrete about what's going to change. It's more like what the pandemic has done is shown us how badly we are doing things from an equity standpoint. Mm-hmm. To see people of color dying at such enormous rates versus white people. Okay, but we aren't doing anything differently to fix that.
Well, I mean, and so that kind of, I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
I'm sorry, there are people who are trying to fix that, but none of this talks to that, really.
Well, I mean, it sort of does a little bit, because in the two passages that I just quoted there, in between them, he did talk about the racial equity and justice initiative projects that Apple is doing. So things like building the Propel Center and the historically black colleges and universities in the Atlanta area, and doing the Apple Developer Academy in Detroit. Those are serving underserved communities. The thing that I wonder is there's room for rhetoric. And rhetoric can actually be really inspiring. I think there's a reason that the people who love Aaron Sorkin. I think there's a reason that people love the Picard speech or the Kirk speech. I mean, I think there's a place for all that stuff. I'm wondering where it's been for the past 9 months or 10 months or however blessed long we've been doing this now.
I don't know how to answer your question of why he wasn't saying this 9 months ago. And maybe he's learning along with the rest of us exactly how badly we are doing things. I like the work that they're doing to help with racial diversity of or more equitable opportunities for people of color. I think that's fantastic. I got inspired from an interview I did with Rob Dunwood after George Floyd died, and as that combined with the fact that science hasn't seemed to be real highly rated for the last 4 years. So we've benefited financially from the stock market, and I used some of that money to do donations to HBCUs, to the historically black colleges and universities, for science students. And so, I mean, I'm trying to do a little bit there, and I know there's people doing a lot like what Apple did there. But the reason I brought up the staff of Apple was, right now, if you look, that they just promoted another senior VP who's a white guy, and if you look at the executive profiles, it looks like the Republican Party, Ken. I mean, they've got a woman in charge of shopping. Right. Deidre O'Brien is head of retail. There's a couple of other women, but it's mostly white men. And it's, they just did another one.
I don't think it's fair to say that she's in charge of shopping. I think you're thinking of the one before her, who was the head of Burberry. I mean,
but she's head of retail.
Yeah, I know, but really she's head of people, isn't she? I mean,
people, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not. I'm splitting hairs. Deirdre O'Brien is not the person that you turn to when you want to make Apple, sort of a fashion place. You turn to, I can't remember her name. Fashion. No, I can't remember her name, though. The woman who...
I know who you mean. I know who you meant. Yeah,
well, I know. The one from Burberry, whose name is Angela Ahrendts.
Yeah.
Angela Ahrendts is actually, I would say that she was the head of shopping. And now Deirdre O'Brien is like the head of people and the people who keep the shops going, in a way. And that's not to take anything away from her. I understand what you're saying. The problem, and when I say the problem, I have no problem with what you're saying, except that, and not even except that, I get what you're saying. I understand bringing the guy that they brought up, Turnus, I believe is his name. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Because he's been there for so long and he's been integral to the whole thing. I'm assuming / hoping. That's
what they've been saying for the last 20 years, Ken. I mean, they keep saying it, and every single technical position is a man. I think there's one guy might be a person of color, and the rest of them are white. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the senior VP of hardware engineering, senior VP of hardware technologies, the chief operating officer, they're all white guys, and he just did another white guy. So he's not putting his money where his mouth is.
Okay, you see, and I'm not saying this is right, and I'm not defending exactly, but hear me out before you say anything. The last few times that we have had the virtual events, and even back before they were virtual events, when Apple was doing their product announcements or when Apple was doing WWDC, the people that you're seeing more are the people that you're seeing more of are more women and more women of color, black, maybe Asian descent. You are seeing more women and more women of color come up and do those demos and do those things. I didn't know who this Turnus guy was, if that's his name even. I might still be getting that wrong. But when I saw a picture of him, I was like, oh yeah, that guy. He's the guy who comes up and talks about this at the different events, right? And now we are having other people who are not white guys come up and talk about those things. It is a slow process, but would it be better for Apple to, okay, these are the people that we are obviously growing into higher positions, and so once those positions open, we will move those people in. Where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was a white guy introducing another white guy who might bring up a white guy to do a demo. Now it's a white guy.
So they're letting lower level people go up on stage who are people of color and women.
No.
They're letting them be in front of the camera is all that is.
That's not what I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is those people are obviously taking more prominent roles in Apple, but it's not going to be at the executive level yet. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when the executives age out, when they're gone away, maybe somebody else is coming in there. Because I'm not defending it. I'm saying what I'm trying to figure out, though, is I can think of two external hires that Apple did since Tim Cook came in. One was Mark Papermaster, who ended up not being able to come in because of non-compete, I think, with IBM, which I had totally forgotten about him. Somebody reminded me he was the guy that was supposed to come in and revolutionize Apple's chip design stuff, and then he got sued by whatever company he was leaving. Like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And they ended up having to settle that whole thing. And the other one was John Browett, the guy from Curry's and PC Warehouse in the UK. And they were disastrous. They were both disastrous hires from outside. Everybody else, they've grown up from inside. As they work to diversify their entire workforce, do you not then see them bringing people up? At the same time, I understand what you're saying. They haven't yet.
No, I'm not seeing them bring them up.
Okay.
I'm not seeing them bring them up. They keep doing promotions and they're not bringing them up. You know, like I keep saying, they're putting these people up that are. I'm looking at Dan Riccio and I'm trying to find out how old he is, because you're talking about it's old guys that have been there forever. But Dan Riccio doesn't look very old. He looks like he's maybe in his mid 40s.
No, but he came in 98. He came to Apple.
When he joined Apple?
He came to Apple in 98. Yeah.
Okay.
98 or 2001. I want to say 98.
No women came into hardware engineering at that time. They just didn't hire them forever.
I am not saying that. I don't know. I am saying as they seek to diversify in their hiring, you're going to have those people sort of come up as it goes. It's not going to, and what sucks is it's not going to be tomorrow, and it should be. It should be 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You're absolutely right. I'm wondering, though, if we're seeing it, well, it's like VR. It's not like VR.
No, it is exactly like my argument with VR, because as a woman, I've been hearing this exact answer since I started in the workforce in 1980. I've been hearing this. Well, you got to understand that, you know, the women are young. We just started hiring women, you know, where you got to wait for this to happen.
Okay. And there I 100% agree with you. That's nightmarish and disastrous. And I don't know how to fix those things. I have no idea how to fix those things, because you have to go back like 20 years or 30 years. Do you remember the Barbie that came out? The talking Barbie that came out, and one of the things the talking Barbie said was math is hard.
Not only do I remember it, I know the woman who invented it.
Really?
Yep. She is the toy chair, which is the coolest title ever, at Loyola Marymount. She's the chair of the toy department at the university. And they put that audio in after she finished the doll. She was the same woman, believe it or not, also invented the rollerblade Barbie. You remember the one you could, if you used hairspray, you could make it catch on fire? That was hers too.
Well, listen, if you use hairspray, you can make anything catch on fire.